because fathers are usually working, the mothers are usually the one who pick them up and carry them where they need to go. You are not that child's mother. So one of the things I learned in the research is that you need to build a relationship and have some patience in the process. Allow the primary or the biological parent to be the disciplinarian until you build a relationship. The third thing and the final thing I want to tell you is that in order for a blended family to succeed, you must have commitment to the process. You can't give up. The first sign of trouble. Because children learn really quickly. Guess what my grandchildren said to me in New Orleans? They said to me one year for Christmas, and it was about 2 or 3 years ago, "Grandmother, we're the luckiest children in the world." And this is little Caitlin talking. These are Kiki's 2 children. And I said, "Caitlin, why are you so happy, and why do you think you're the luckiest child in the world?" "Because we have so many grandparents, and we get so many presents." And I thought it was the most beautiful thing she could have ever said. Because although I'm not their biological parent, she calls me grandmother. And she loves grandmother. And I remember at the dance recital 2 years ago, her brother got angry with their biological mother because she did not want them to go back home with us after the dance recital. And little Marky said to his mother, "Well, Mom, they're our family too. Don't we have the right to spend time with them? We're with you every day." Children are smart. And they know how to manipulate situations. Now, I was happy because they wanted to be with grandmother. But when we got them home, I had to have a conversation with them. Because as a responsible grandmother, I don't want them to ever think they can play me. So I said to them, because I have a strong relationship with them, I have been their grandmother since Caitlin was 6 years old. Caitlin is now 16 years old. So I can tell them something. And I said to Caitlin and Mark, "I don't ever want you to play that game again. You will not speak to your mother that way in grandmother's presence." Now, you could have gone up to your mother and you could have said, "Mom, we really want to go spend time." You don't start yelling and screaming and throwing a tantrum in public. Amen. "Okay, grandmother." As a result, they went home and told their mama what I said. So now, when we get together, we go to mother's house as well. We spent Thanksgiving at their mother's house with their biological grandmother, with their biological uncles. We do everything together. Because there is a respect for each other's place in those children's lives. We have determined that the one goal for us is to make sure that those children have a nurturing environment where they can feel comfortable with either parent. So there is a commitment to the process of prayer and patience. Now, the downside to this situation, and you can read it in the PowerPoint, I've had some run off because I'm not really technological savvy, and I was so excited that I did the PowerPoint, and it was so pretty. It was really pretty. It was really nice looking, and you would have been so proud of me. See, this is what it looked like. Yeah, and then it would just, what you call it, fan out. Yeah, it was really pretty. And I had pictures of us on there too, and I was looking good. But it just didn't work out that way. But I do have it, and thank you, sister, our first lady, Griffin, for running it off for me. And I told her to bring it in here and let my members staple it, and she did it all herself. She's a fanatic for getting things right. Thank you, Sister Griffin. But here are some of the difficulties. When these blended families come together, they come together under one household. Now, granted, one family is already living in that household. And with us as African Americans, we don't have the luxury of having money to go and buy a whole new big house. So the house we live in has to make do. But here are the recommendations from the authorities that when you bring a family together, clear out all the rooms. Take everybody's personal stuff out the room. Sit down and have a family meeting. And let the children decide who they're going to partner with as a roommate. And then allow them to pick out their own drawers. Take all your children's stuff out the drawers so that they come in feeling like they truly are welcomed in this home. Now, once you've done that, make sure that when you schedule the visits to the other parent, that it's at a time when your children can have you all to yourself. Because you still have got to stay connected with your own children because there are going to be some feelings of resentment. Children don't like to share their parents. They don't. And when new children come in, I had my mama all to myself, and now all of a sudden I got to share my mama with my sister. It's not too good. So make sure that when you sit them down, you allow them to be a part of the process. The next thing you need to do is to make sure that when you schedule activities after school, that there is a balance between your biological children and their activities and your stepchildren and their activities. No one should get more attention than the other. And I know that sounds hard, but it is. It is hard. But if you want your families to survive and not end up in another divorce, you make the sacrifice at the front end so that you don't have to give up at the back end. The final thing they say that you should do is, once you have done this, don't ever take sides. Step parents, don't ever take sides. You know what's going to wind up happening, don't you? As a teacher, I was on a bus with a parent. Her daughter was on the bus along with some other children. And her daughter was worse than anybody on the bus. But she was always correcting everybody else's child. To the point that she was abusive and bullying. And you know I'm crazy anyway. And I told her, you take care of the one that you birthed in the world, and I'll take care of the rest of them. Because you can talk to yours that way, but you can't talk to them that way. They belong to me. So when you're disciplining or when you're trying to resolve issues, watch the way you talk to the stepchild. Watch how you defend your child at the expense of the stepchild. How many of you know the story of Cinderella? Yeah. Fairy tale, blended family. But Cinderella wins in the end. But then there's another blended family. Are there any questions? Wow. Because I'm through.
All right.
Any other questions? The very first blended family that matters to us. When Jesus was hanging on the cross, he looked down and saw his mama weeping at his feet. Standing next to her was his homie and his best friend, John, the beloved disciple. And he says to John, look at my mama. No, he said, Mama, look at John. Go home with John. Then he says, John, look at my mama. Take her home with you and treat her like your own mama. Jesus set the example for us. And I say to children all the time, anybody can be your mama. All you have to do is live. And that's where your blessings come from. We all have blended families. I grew up in a blended family. My grandfather was my step-grandfather. My father was my stepfather. My grandfathers all died before I was born. I was so thankful to have a grandfather who I never considered my step-grandfather. When my father died, no one knew he was not my biological father until he died. The true measure of a love relationship is not how parents who find each other, love each other. But the true measure of real love is how you learn to accept people and the baggage that they bring to the relationship. Because we all carry baggage. Your baggage is no better than my baggage. But when you enter into the matrimony, the union of marriage, you're saying, I'm willing to work with you through your baggage as you work with me through mine.
Amen.
And my prayer is that you will not allow anyone's child to suffer in the process.
Amen.